Alright, let's resume our study with this book, The Philosophy of Hegel by W.T. Stace. So, as it says, the book is therefore primarily an exposition, but it is also critical. By that, this basically means this book is a very basic book that will walk you through and help you explore Hegel's philosophical system, but it also provides some original and critical insights, help you to further understand and be able to develop your own critical thinking skills based on Hegelian philosophical logic. And because of that, and in fact, developing one's philosophical thinking skill is way more important than just randomly grasping some philosophical ideas. Or, as the analytic philosophy usually does, is use a synthesized and unified analytical framework to break down a philosophical systems without paying full attention to its original philosophical thinking within that system. And here I'm really telling you two pathways to approach to philosophy or to philosophical truth. And I would say, as a Hegelian philosopher, you really need to jump into the philosophical thinking of the author in order to master the system yourself and build a thinking system for yourself, for your own, rather than just, training yourself with an analytical framework, even though the latter could be useful at some times, such as when analyzing psychological knowledge or sociology knowledge. Those lower grade knowledge can be best understood at sometimes by certain analytical frameworks, which I will present to you later in some subsequent videos, but not in this one. So this kind of exposition involves interpretation, and interpretation merges into criticism. Okay, this sentence is quite important for you to understand Hegelian logic in the simplest way. And in addition to this, I have included in many places criticisms upon the details of Hegel's deductions. I have not carried out such criticism systematically as has been done, for example, for the logic only in other commentary on Hegel's logic. We don't need to care about that. That's really 100 years ago. That's really a long time ago. And Stace did recognize that such a procedure would make a book which has to take in the whole system far too long. I mean, this book already has like more than 500 pages. And in order to merge all Hegel's necessary concepts and philosophical ideas into this book, Stace has already done a lot of simplification, just as I have discussed in the previous video. So I think the details included in this book is enough for you to build a basic systematic understanding about Hegel's logic or Hegel's philosophy. But for the fullest understanding of his philosophy, you definitely need to read his own text. As simple as that. There's no mystery or really shortcuts to his philosophical system, to be sure. This is really just a stepping stone or a training procedure, as I would put it. Okay, and he continues, and would also entirely alter its general character. Yeah, this book is quite general. My guiding principle has been to include only such criticisms as seem necessary to give the student, which means you, an intelligent understanding of Hegel. Yeah, I think Stace has done a great job in this regard. Consequently, where I have merely stated Hegel's argument and left it without comment, it does not follow that I regard the argument as above criticism. Part 3, which deals with the philosophy of nature, is no doubt more critical and less expository than the other parts. This was unavoidable. The character of Hegel's passage from logic to nature has always been profoundly obscure. Okay, so we don't really need to care about this part at this point. And it's the point against which the most determined attacks upon Hegel has been directed, I could not rest satisfied with the views expressed by a host of critics from Schelling to Professor Partison, which have now become common. Oh, and by the way, Schelling's philosophy has never been that common, especially for later stage Schelling. And by the way, that is just yet another mistake the philosophy department has done, because Schelling is actually quite important. Even if your main objective is to understand Hegel, to understand Schelling at some points and to some students or to some scholars is still a very useful and a very helpful approach. I will put it this way. But let's keep it short. I really want to finish the preface in today's video. So yeah, let's move on. And I had therefore to work on my own solution. Okay, very self-explanatory stuff. The difficulty of Hegel's writings is notorious. I mean, I would say it's not that difficult. I mean, maybe in State's time, which was 100 years ago, the English translation was not that good. But today we have the Cambridge text, the Cambridge translation, which is way much better than Stace had in his time. Even though I think in this passage he may also refer to Hegel's original German text. But just don't worry about it. Like I said, for beginner, reading his English translation is more than enough for beginners, for you to get started. Okay, so and therefore I have aimed especially at lucidity, which means clarity. The student who cannot read Hegel's own works will find here, I hope, all Hegel's essential thoughts stated as easily and simply as is possible. Yeah, and that's why I call this book fundamental or elementary. And if the student who is prepared to labor at the actual text of Hegel, and by the way, just for you to know, I basically finished reading Hegel's The Phenomenology of Spirit and have finished some early parts of Hegel's Larger Logic. And that's why teaching this book to you, I think is really for me to regain or relearn what I have read in Hegel's original text. And it's not that difficult. I mean, this teaching job is not that difficult for me. And I think it's just pretty fun. I hope you can enjoy it as well. Even though, yeah, we only have my whiteboard. You cannot see my handsome face. I'm joking. And this could be dry, but I guess it's just not that difficult anyway. If you're already interested in learning Hegel's philosophy, I suppose that's why you are watching this video. Okay, so the actual text and what? We'll read this book side by side with Hegel's own deduction. Yeah, that would be my recommendation as well, if you are able to do that. He will, I trust, find that many of his difficulties are cleared up. Actually, I did that quite some times ago, which I personally found helpful for clearing up my thoughts when reading Hegel's original text. And that's why I'm recommending this book to you. But there are two ways in which the simplification of difficult thought may be attempted. The first is to think it out clearly and to the bottom. This is about philosophical thinking. And then set it down in lucid language. Sometimes we may call this paraphrasing the philosophy. This is definitely a recommended way of learning philosophy. Let's see what's the second one. The second is to avoid and leave out difficult conceptions, or to slur them over, or to rob them of their profundity, making them shallow on the pretext of making them easy. I have set before me as my ideal the former of these two methods, and have eschewed the later. I would definitely agree with Stace's approach here. Just as I explained early on, you need to understand the original philosophical thinking of the thinker in order to understand his philosophical system, instead of just, grasping some random concepts like I said before, so I won't repeat myself. Whether I have succeeded in this or not is, of course, not for me to judge. Yeah, I personally think Stace has done a good job for beginner. I think he's a very qualified philosophical teacher, way much better than many professors today. Cause, as I said earlier, they are not trained to teach Hegel when they were in college. Yeah, as simple as that. There's really no mystery about this.